this thing on. Hasn't been for a while. Sorry about that. Life, you know what I mean? Feels like after the holidays, I did one episode with Carly. If you missed that one, go back and check it out. That's from January. We are now at the end of February, almost March, and I have not recorded because we have been in a series of illnesses in my house, mostly just winter sinus, cold, cough, nastiness. But if it wasn't one kid, it was another, or it was me or my husband, and then back through again. Then we just got back from a family vacation for February break, most of us, but the twins were on a missions trip for the second year in a row during February. So they were there serving and blessing people while we were elsewhere, which I'd like to get into for this episode. So pour yourself a glass of wine or a cup of coffee and let's get into it. One thing that is really heavy on my heart and always has been, but I think it's just highlighted right now because of the experience we just had on vacation, is the issue of food allergies. So I'd like to begin by saying, if you are someone who lives and struggles with food allergies, or if you are a parent of a child who lives and struggles with food allergies, if you know someone who lives and struggles with food allergies, which, by the way, if you don't think you do, you do, or if you know no one, are not related to anyone, have never dealt with this issue before in your life, I still want you to listen, because here's the issue. Let me back up. At 9 months old, my daughter Emily was diagnosed with severe food allergies to what I thought and brought her in for was a banana allergy, because every time she was eating in her high chair, at the time I, in one of my many lives, was baking cookies and selling them to make some money. And I was doing cutout cookies for showers and birthdays and weddings and things like that. And so she was often in her high chair in my kitchen while I was baking. And at that stage of life, she was six to 9 months old, she was eating purees. So she was eating, now, I'm going to admit this. I did not do this with Ruby because I'm older and wiser. But I bought the pre-made baby food, and no judgment, I did it. People that still do it, great. I just, at this stage in life, have more time and resources to be able to make the baby food. So let me just put that out there. But at the time, she was eating a lot of purees, and most of them were banana-based. It was banana berry, banana strawberry, banana oat, all those things. So she was often eating those in her high chair. But she would always have these like hives on her face. At 9 months old, I finally called the doctor and said, what is this? Could she be allergic to bananas? And they were like, gosh, yeah, she could. We really should have her tested for some allergies. Let's send her to an allergist. So we go to an allergist, which our allergist is the best of the best in Rochester, probably in the country. He's phenomenal. But we went to his office, and they did a panel. And come to find out, Emily was not allergic to bananas. She was allergic to peanuts, tree nuts, and eggs. Now, that was a massive blow as a parent, especially with a 9-month-old. She hadn't yet had peanut butter. I guess I hadn't given her eggs, which is actually a funny thing to think about because I was just so naive and ignorant to the allergy world. And I was a young mom and stressed and worried about other things that I definitely would have been focused on now. But social media wasn't what it is now. And so a lot of these things were not issues and matters that were right in front of your face. Now, I will say, put a pin in that. My cousin, her boys, I think all of them in some capacity had or still have different allergies to nuts specifically. And the greater world at large, at least in America, but beyond, is very familiar with nut allergies. And so that's why you see a lot of times when you go out, they'll mention like, oh, nut-free facility or something, if you ask for it to be peanut-free or no peanut oil. I mean, there's just, people are like overly aware of nut allergies, which is amazing. I don't want to take away from that. But I digress. So it was a lot to process, especially at 9 months old. She hadn't had eggs yet, but here's what was going on. It wasn't the banana she was eating. I was baking all the time. And so imagine I'm rolling out cutouts. I'm frosting cutouts with royal icing, which has an egg white base. And I would touch, wipe her face or give her more food. And so the hives were a reaction to not the food she was eating, but to what was on me and what I was contaminating her with by just the nature of it being on my hands. And she would break out in hives. So that was at 9 months old, and that was really difficult. But we were like, okay, we have to learn how to live like this. So eggs quickly became a no-go in our house. Peanut butter, I didn't even make Liam at the time. He's 25 months older than her, so 2 years older than her. I stopped making him peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I stopped making him eggs. And I made my meatballs without eggs. I grew up Italian. My whole family on both sides is Italian. So, I made cutlets, and I had to learn how to make everything without egg. And that's just what I did. Nut was easier to cut out. Like I said, I just didn't make Liam peanut butter and jelly. I wasn't really eating a lot of peanut butter at the time. So it wasn't impossible to manage at home. But I quickly realized going out, even to families' houses, how much of a discrepancy there was in understanding. We would go to family houses, members of the family, and, they'd put out rolls without checking if there was egg wash. We one time ended up in the hospital. We would, and again, like I wasn't hyper vigilant because I just didn't know to always look. And maybe that's makes me a bad mom, but there were multiple times where we ended up with reactions, and we would do Benadryl and all the things you're supposed to do except for EpiPen because we were scared to, until one time when Emily was maybe 8 or 9, our allergist said always Epi, even preventatively, because it won't hurt her. But what could happen if you don't Epi, even if you don't think anaphylaxis is happening or that you don't recognize it, it won't always look the way you think it should. So if she has the hives, if she is vomiting, if she has stomach pain, if there was exposure, just always Epi, always Epi. So from that point on, we did. But up until that point, there were some really scary instances where she had reactions to things and we did not Epi her. So I say this vulnerably. I share this transparently, but it is a very scary thing to see your child take a bite of something and instantly have fear take over and them look at you, and instant fear comes over them and tenfold over you as a parent. So we had multiple acute instances over the years with both her dad and I, even post-divorce. We both were hypervigilant, but things happen. He took her on a daddy-daughter date one night because they had a school dance, or a daddy-daughter dance, when that was still a thing, which that's a whole other episode. But and he took her to dinner and he asked the waiter, do you have any eggless desserts? And they said, yeah. And they gave her flourless chocolate cake, which I know is full of egg, but the waiter was dumb and didn't check. And dad trusted that they were saying the right thing. And Emily got violently ill, showed up to the school dance, face out to here, vomiting everywhere. There was an angel of a mom who Emily is still friends with the daughter today. But at the time, I didn't know it all. And I still don't really know her that well, but I'll always be grateful for her stepping in and helping us with Emily that night. There was a time we went to a local restaurant right in the town we live in. And, oddly enough, we checked, I want to say 3 or 4 times, just about the rolls that were on the table. Are they safe? Can she have them? Is there egg in them? Is there egg wash on them? Have they been near any egg? Have they been near any nut? No. Checked 3-4 times. 3-4 times. Promised. And the sweet waitress, she checked with the kitchen and we took their word for it. And my daughter ate 2 bites of a roll and was in the bathroom vomiting. It was horrific. As I'm saying this, I'm thinking she's going to kill me for sharing these stories, but I have a bigger point, and this is a really important message. And so, Emily, I'm sorry, get over it. I love you. I live day to day to keep you alive. So forgive me. I think these conversations are really important, and you need to hear what these kids go through and what these families go through, because I am sick and tired of going out in public, of going out anywhere and having people be so naive, so ignorant, and so disrespectful to people who live this way. We live in fear all the time that either my daughter won't be able to eat, or if she does, it could kill her. I need you to hear me. Food allergies are not a joke. I am not a mom who is overreacting. I am a mom who has for nearly 15 years been through the ringer because I have overly trusted, because I have been embarrassed, I have been scared, I've been afraid, I've been trusting, and it's got to stop. Let me get back to my point, which all of this is pertinent, but I just have a lot to say if you couldn't figure that out. And I'm sorry, this is maybe a little bit of a different episode, but I think this is really important information, and I'm going to share it even if one of you learned something today. Local restaurant, we were told it was safe. It was not. She was very ill. My husband called the restaurant after saying, I just want to speak to the owner. And we had some like not far reaching, what's the word? Distant connection to the owner. It's a small world, right? Small town. We don't live in a small town per se, but you get the drift. You get the gist of what I'm trying to say. And come to find out, that owner personally has food allergies himself, so I've been told, and he has a child who has food allergies. That owner berated my husband on the phone, calling us all sorts of names, screaming at him for even bringing it to his attention because we should have known better, and then proceeded to calm down because my husband is a saint after that conversation, says he was going to leave us a gift certificate at the hostess station as some sort of, I don't know, payoff for not suing him. Which we're not sue happy people. We've never sued anyone but I don't know. I guess we probably could have. But whatever. My husband had called to say, hey, this shouldn't have happened. This is really dangerous. She could have died. You need to know this as a business owner. Anyways, that was horrible. He left us a $25 gift card. So cool. Beyond that, when my brother and sister-in-law got married, we called the venue weeks in advance. We called again weeks in advance. We triple checked the day of the wedding about my daughter's food. We talked to the manager at the venue. We checked the food when it was delivered. Yet when I brought my daughter home that night, she ended up in anaphylactic shock. That one, I have so much, I can just even feel it in my chest because that night I drove home from that wedding separately. I don't remember all the dynamics. We had all the kids in the wedding. And I took Emily for some reason. And she passed out in the back seat. I thought she just fell asleep. And when we got back, we were staying at a cottage, our family's place. And we got out and I got her out of her seat and she was just kind of limp. She was breathing and I just thought, gosh, she's really out of it. She woke up, Mommy, I don't feel good. And I said, okay, honey. And she just got sick. I put her in the shower. She was maybe 7. She could barely stand up. I was just dumping Benadryl down her throat. And I got in bed and I just held her. And the reason I'm emotional is because I should have epied her. I should have lost her that night. But by the grace of God, my mistakes and my failures, she's okay. A couple years later, I made pancakes on Christmas Eve morning. We do our Christmas with our kids Christmas Eve morning because we learned years ago it just was too much to make them swap on Christmas Day. And being in a divorced family, any kid of divorce will tell you that's the worst. So our solution or attempt at a solution, our attempt at a solution was to do Christmas Eve morning so that Christmas Eve night they could go to their other parents' house and just wake up with them every Christmas Day. Selfishly, I really love it because we get that first wake up with them. There's not the juggling on Christmas Day. And I don't care about the date. I grew up with divorced parents as well. So celebrating holidays on different dates than the calendar has never bothered me. And we continue to make that something that our kids understand is not a priority. We never want them to feel like, oh, I got to get to Dad and Katie's or Mom and Joe's on Thanksgiving, and I got to get there on Christmas Day. Like, no, we will celebrate whenever everyone's able to be together, and that's okay. So anyways, again, that's another episode. But Christmas Eve morning, I made pancakes for the kids. It was the same brand I had always bought because it was egg-free. And although you could add eggs to the mix, I used egg replacer, but the mix itself didn't have anything dangerous in it for her. So I made pancakes, and Emily took one bite of pancakes that morning and said, Mommy, my throat itches. I think it's the pancakes. And I said, no, honey, it can't be. And I panicked and I grabbed I'm like, see, and I look at the bag and eggs in the batter. The company had changed the recipe and not put anything of a marker on the front. Now, it was listed on the back, but there was no announcement or nothing visual that would say, hey, make sure you pay attention, allergy families. So that was the first time we EPI'd her. My husband did it. She was petrified. But once he did it, she was okay. We got her in the car. A friend at the time I knew was a nurse at at a local hospital, and she met us at the pediatric ED. She was actually working that day, which again, the Lord had us covered. And we went and they evaluated her and kept an eye on her for a couple of hours. And she was home before late afternoon on Christmas Eve. But I'm sure that's a Christmas she will never forget. Sorry, Meebs. And then we made it a few years without any incident, which was incredible. There were a few others here or there, both with us, minor, and with her dad. But with every instance, you become that much more jaded. And you become that much more aware. And then my baby shower for Ruby. I was obsessively in conversation with the venue and with the vendors I was working with. And without getting into great detail on that one, because that one's still very difficult for me to talk about. Emily did get sick there. It was not the venue's fault. And I opened one gift and ended up having to make an announcement to everyone at the shower, about 65 people, that I was leaving to go in an ambulance with my daughter, who had just been EpiPenned because she had been poisoned, basically. I didn't care about the money or the shower or the other people. I mean, of course I cared about them, but I just wanted her to be okay. And I just felt I had failed her yet again. And I wasn't the one who made the food that hurt her, but I certainly trusted the person that did. And that person definitely did not do it maliciously, but carelessly. And so, again, that's just one instance, but it's the most recent, really difficult and very scary incident that we have faced. So, okay, this has been a very long intro to an episode. I don't know if you want to call it an intro, but all to get to what I wanted to talk about our recent vacation and where I kind of need your help. So after all of these things that we've learned over the past 15 years, I have learned to ask the questions more than once. I have released the feeling of guilt or shame, or not shame for us, like we're doing something wrong, but just putting people out. It's always my fear. I don't want to make anyone feel bad or for not understanding the severity. But at the same time, I think I'm over that hurdle, and I do want you to know you're wrong. I want you to know you're wrong. I want you to know this is serious. I want you to know this is life and death. And I am tired of the carelessness. I'm tired of the jokes. I'm tired of the lack of information and availability of information. And something has to change. There's so many allergy advocates out in the world. I fear that it's white noise. I think the only ones that are listening are the people within the community and of allergy families, and not the people outside of it, which those are the ones that need to listen the most. If you are in food service, if you own a restaurant, if you work at a restaurant, if you are a server, if you are a bus person, take the time to understand that food is medicine. It is also poison. Can be life or death. And the amount of times I go places and ask, and somebody says, oh no, oh, what is she allergic to? Oh yeah, no, it should be fine. Nope. It should be fine is not a good enough answer. So let me take you to our most recent experience before I get there really quick. Well, no, forget it. Okay, let me take you to our most recent experience. So over February break, we, for the first time ever, went on a cruise with our family. And it was beautiful and amazing and warm weather. And I have lots of thoughts on cruising that I don't need to get into here. Would I ever do it again? Yes, but I'm glad I went to learn some lessons so I would know what not to do next time. We could probably do a whole episode on that as well, but that's not what I'm here to discuss. When we arrived, well, prior to arrival, my husband reached out to the cruise line, Royal Caribbean. I will shout it out because I think it's really important. And, given all of my listeners, why wouldn't I want to give them a plug? They could use it. So my husband reached out to Royal Caribbean both via email and phone call and talked to them more than once about Emily's allergies and the importance of it and the severity of it and what would the options be and, how do we deal with the food situation? Being on a ship, being in different countries, like what could we expect? And they were wonderful. They were wonderful on the phone. They sent really solid written communication. This is not their first rodeo. So that was really encouraging. So going into the trip, I packed basically a suitcase full of food, which I always do. But it's snacky food. I mean, I packed some rice things that in a pinch she could eat as a meal, but we really went in hopeful. And so the snacks also double in not only being safe, but available for her because of her diabetes. So we had the food available, but not meals. So when we got there, I was excited because they had told us, listen, she's flagged in the system, no problem. Allergy information will be available everywhere, but there's a separate kitchen that is dedicated to allergy safe preparation. You're going to be all set. So we get there and we check in and they tell us we can't talk to anybody in charge of food until the main dining room opens at 5. Now it was like, 2 p.m. when we got on the ship. So it wasn't that far in advance, but we got on the ship and of course the kids want a snack. They want an ice cream. They want a popcorn. So I'm like, well, just get an ice cream. Go ask to see the allergen information. They didn't have it. They didn't have the allergen information. So not only that, but they were handing out ice cream cones and saying, no, you can't have a dish. You have to take it in a cone. When my daughter was diagnosed with diabetes, she was also blessed with the condition of celiac disease, which means she cannot eat gluten. So a limited diet, being even more limited, was a super fun piece of information to receive at that diagnosis as well. But imagine the frustration. So even if the ice cream was safe, she couldn't get it in a dish. I thought, this is crazy. This can't be. And we just got on the ship. Now, anybody that's ever cruised, especially on a large cruise line like Royal Caribbean, I mean, they're all large, but this was one of their larger ships. There's, 6,500 guests, 2,000 plus staff members. You're talking a ship full of 9,000 to 10,000 people. Allergen information should never be something they can't find. It's completely unacceptable. So they didn't have allergen information for the ice cream. They also were forcing people to take cones. So I was going to march my butt to the ice cream stands and my daughter was like, no, it's fine because she's 14 and I embarrassed the hell out of her. And I don't really care because I am concerned. And I at that point as a mom, I'm overstimulated. I'm overwhelmed. I'm thinking this can't be how this whole week goes because we're going to be in the middle of the ocean and the Caribbean. And she needs to eat. And if this is what's happening with snacks, how am I going to feed her? These are the things that already are suffocating me. So I say, okay, there's an ice cream shop. So there's free ice cream. And then there's an ice cream shop where you have to pay because of course, right? So I'm like, well, we'll go there. Of course they'll have allergy information. So we go there Okay. Oh, you have all these flavors. Do you have allergen information? What? What is that? Nope. I need to see allergy information. Well, what are her allergies? Don't ask me. I'll tell you. But if you think the solution to the problem is going to be you telling me, oh, I think it's fine, or there's no egg in our ice cream, or there's no nuts in our ice cream, or there's no gluten in our ice cream. I mean, you can ask me, I'll tell you, but I want to see it in writing. So I said, I tell her the allergies. I say, can we please see the allergen information? She's ruffling through cabinets in this like behind the counter space in an ice cream shop, on a boardwalk, on a cruise ship. She finds a couple. She's like, well, I can only find this and this crumpled up like pieces of paper with allergy information for like 2 of the flavors, which one of them was brownie batter. So Emily's like, well, I already know I'm not gonna be able to have that because that's gonna have gluten anyways. Like, can I just see allergy information? Then they had a sorbet. I'm like, let me just check the sorbet. I'm certain that one should be okay, but couldn't find it. Didn't understand why I was even asking for it. Unbelievably ridiculous. So my daughter, who's an empath and so gracious and also very embarrassed at 14, was like, Mom, it's fine. She's like, it's okay. Thank you. And I'm like, this is crazy. This is crazy. My anxiety at this point was heightened beyond repair. So I say, okay, can she have the popcorn? What's on the popcorn? At that point, we decided the popcorn was safe. I can't remember the details about that. Crucify me for that. We bought popcorn, but I'm pissed. So I'm like, I'm going to go to guest services. I need to talk to somebody. So I go to guest services. I wait in line for like 45 minutes because everyone just got on the cruise ship. Everyone has a question. Everyone has a problem. So I can recognize that might not have been a great time for them to receive somebody like me, but also I just got on a ship and my daughter can't get a snack. So like, I'm not going to wait. So I finally get up there. The woman was lovely. I explain, we got this communication. I need to talk to the kitchen. They say I can't talk to anybody, but I want to know beyond the kitchen, right? Because their response was to me, well, you have to wait until you can talk to somebody in main dining and then you can, talk about her food. And I'm like, but that's great for dinner. Maybe it's even great for breakfast and lunch. We can go back to main dining for those meals. But what do I do the rest of the day? She's a 14-year-old kid. These kids want to get snacks. They want to have things available. I'm not even demanding that you have things available. I want to be able to determine whether or not she can have what may be available. The lady says to me, well, okay, what are her allergies? Here we go again. So I give her a reservation. I tell her the allergies. She's like, oh, yep, I see a note here. She's like, oh, celiac. I'm celiac too, through a very thick accent. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. What do I do here? She's like, well, she can have gluten-free pizza. She can have gluten-free pasta. I have it all the time. I said, let me stop you. She also has an egg allergy. Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know about that. Ma'am, I'm so sorry for your loss of gluten. I'm so sorry for your loss. I don't care about your celiac disease or what you enjoy and what you don't enjoy. I need answers for my child. And the fact that you are responding to me as a manager on this cruise ship in such a way that is so ignorant to suggest gluten-free pizza and pasta when a child has multiple other allergies put me in a tailspin of epic proportion. I want to be better in these situations. I want to be more calm. Explain to me how I can be more calm when this is what I'm dealing with. And all of the information of 14 years is in my head. All of the times I've watched my daughter suffer. All of the instances that she's had to pack food to be able to go places. All of the times she's with friends that just want to enjoy some treat that she can't participate in. All of those things are informing my reaction in that moment. On top of, I just need her to be able to eat this week, and you are making me feel unsafe. Finally, while the woman was nice enough, I just accepted her responses and said, tell me what to do if I want allergy information, because the experience I just had at the ice cream shop and at the ice cream stands was not positive. She proceeds to tell me that all the ice cream on the ship is brought in, so she can't make any promises, which to me, if it's brought in, you should definitely have the allergy information because it's available. But that's neither here nor there. I accepted it. I accepted that I just needed to go to the dining room at 5 p.m. and talk to a head chef. And I was not hopeful for the week ahead. I was extremely discouraged, extremely overwhelmed, very anxious and worried, while also wanting my daughter to not be in a panic. So I immediately went back to my husband. I explained what happened. I explained the interaction through many tears. And he did what he does, which is he took the bull by the horns and he went back to guest services and he got some more clarity. The clarity was, yes, we did need to speak to main dining, but once we did that, they would then assist us in figuring out the rest of the ship. That was not clearly communicated to me. Potentially that was on my end from not being able to hear that clarity given the emotion of the situation for me, but that was the answer. So I had to wait. So she ate her popcorn. She had, I think, a strawberry daiquiri, virgin, of course. And we proceeded to go through our afternoon to get to dinner. And at dinner, everything changed. So when we got to dinner, I forget his title, but I will share a photo because he was an angel on earth. This man, Rohit, who was not our server, but he was one of the managers in the dining room. He came over, talked to us, asked Emily her allergies, said, "What can I get for you? What would you like? And when you tell me what you'd like to eat, I will try to make it happen in a way that is safe for you. And if I can't, we'll come up with something else." And from that day, for the following week, every meal, that man made sure her food was safe. He took her orders. He learned her preferences. He packed her lunches. He was creative. He was kind. I just don't think people understand the value of that kind of, not attention, but the value of that understanding. And here's what I mean. The first night at dinner, he said, "Can I bring you some gluten-free bread? Because there's bread on the table." And she couldn't have it. And she said, no, that's okay. Because bread has burned her in the past, as we've discussed. He said, "I have gluten-free bread. It's vegan. Let me bring you some." And she looked at me and I looked at her and we're like, okay. And we didn't know him yet. So he brings out some toasted bread. And we look at it and she's like excited because she can't have bread anymore. And the things a lot of us take for granted don't. So he brings her bread and we both get nervous and we both look at it and I say, "I'm so sorry. I so appreciate this, but is there any way we can see the packaging?" She really likes to see the packaging. It just gives us peace of mind. And without hesitation, and this is huge, this is a big point, without hesitation, that man said, "Of course." And he went to the kitchen and he got the bag from the bread and he brought it over within minutes. And we read it and it was safe. And my daughter enjoyed that bread more than any other bread she's ever had. I guarantee it. And I got emotional. And I just said, "I'm so sorry for second guessing you." He said, "Don't worry about it." The next morning, he had said, "Do you want toast?" And she was like, "Oh, yes. Yes, please." And he said, "How about some bacon? I'll make you a bacon sandwich." I mean, it was amazing. So he brings it out when her food comes out and he puts it down and the bread's a different color. Like not from toasting, but like the actual bread is different. And we both looked at it and we looked at him and we said, "Rohit, I'm so sorry. Can you make sure this bread is safe?" It's the same bread. And I said, "Well, it's a different color." And he looked at it, he goes, "You know what? You're right. Let me go check." So he goes back to the kitchen. He comes back, brings a plate. It's safe. It's the same brand. It's just a little bit different. And he could tell by the looks on our faces. And I looked at Emily and I said, "Do you want me to ask?" And she said, "Yeah." So I said, "Is there any way we could see the packaging again?" "No problem, ma'am." Goes, gets the bag, brings it out. Okay. She's like so excited she gets to eat her bacon sandwich. I cannot tell you how much that meant. And maybe this just sounds like a sweet story to you. I don't know how to explain how critical this is for the food service industry to take on. I don't think you can understand the weight that she carries and the weight I carry as her mom or her dad or my husband or her stepmom or any of us that care for her. The flippant, oh, I'm gluten-free, can't you have this? Or I don't have eggs, or I'm a vegan, but what about this, nut muffin? It's like there's always something. And granted, Emily has a combination of food allergies that is not common, although it's more common than you think. And I've spent years afraid, and I'm still afraid. And I will always be afraid. But there are things we can do to help. We went to Europe in the fall, and we were amazingly blessed to go on that trip. But I packed a suitcase of food. I was petrified, but I wanted my daughter to have these experiences that we were blessed enough as a family to have an opportunity to have. I talked to other allergy moms who had traveled overseas. I did the best research I could. And by saying I did research, that means I had my husband research because he's way better at it than I am. But I did. And even in London, they were impeccable with communicating ingredients. The fact that we have such a challenge, not only with access to information in the United States, but there is such a stigma around it, is disgusting. I wish I had the capacity to take this on as a full-time fight. I wish I had the capacity to be a full-time advocate for this issue, because I know that my daughter is one of thousands, millions of kids living like this. If you could just take 2 minutes to understand, to listen, maybe it would make a difference. I don't know. I don't even know what I'm asking for other than some compassion and understanding from people outside of the food allergy community. The people within the community, you get it. You're my people. Great. Everyone else needs to learn and understand. And that's not me forcing my agenda on you. This is life or death for your neighbors, brothers, sisters, cousins, friends. It's not an issue to be taken lightly. It's not something to laugh about. It's not a joke. Children die because of things like this. Your lack of attention to detail puts children in hospitals. Your lack of attention to ingredients or a shift or a change in your kitchen can mean somebody's entire world comes crashing down. I know this is a soapbox, and I'm certain a lot of you I might have lost you a long time ago. It's okay, I guess, because I know I'm not going to change the world with one podcast episode. I'm not going to change your mind about how important this is. I mean, I still have, there's gatherings we get together with people that are like, oh, well, she won't eat this, but what can I get her? It's like, the way I cook in my house, I don't, like, if I'm making a meal for the family, I don't make Emily something separate. Sometimes there's no choice. But a lot of times I've just learned how to make things so that she is included. Can we just do more of that? Thank you to Royal Caribbean and Rohit for how amazing our trip turned out. But do a better job in the beginning. Take these matters seriously. Train your staff to have the conversations in a way that doesn't make a mom feel unsafe. It's life or death. Restaurants, local establishments, bakeries, you don't even have to have, I'm not demanding everyone has something safe for her, but I'm demanding that you know what is in your food so that we know if we can safely consume it or not. I don't think that's too much to ask. I'm not sitting here saying you must have gluten-free options, you must have vegan options, you must have fill in the blank for whatever allergy one might have. But I need to be able to assess it. And if I can't, that's the problem. And if your staff has a lack of compassion for something like that, that's the problem. If you have a lack of understanding, fix it. I don't even feel bad for demanding that of people. I think in this day and age, I don't think that's too much to ask. The kids in our house, the kids know the gluten-free stuff. I don't buy it like, oh, special, you can't have it. That's for Emily. I do it because that's all she can have. You can have anything else in the house. Eat whatever you want. But if I run out of her stuff, she now has way less options than you do. I could go on, and I fear I've already gone on too far, too long. This is something that is so, so important. And I wish there was a way I could communicate it better. The weight of it is insurmountable. I don't even know if that's the right word. The weight of it is crushing. It's crushing. And it's not a burden. I happily take it on for her because, and with her and alongside her, because my job as her mom is to teach her how to advocate for herself and how to manage in a world that is ignorant to her struggles. And if I can do that, that will give me peace. But if I could also see some change in the world around us, in the way people respond to these things and treat these things, that would be amazing. That's my prayer. That's my prayer. That's my hope. And if you are a parent of a child with food allergies, if you live with food allergies yourself, if you have a loved one with food allergies, and again, I bet you do, try to educate those around you. Try to educate yourself a little bit more. I'm sorry that this episode was a little less humorous than others. I hope it was informative. And if it just comes across as me complaining, well, there's that too. But Jesus, coffee, and wine, that's just who I am. So thank you for listening. Again, if one person walks away with any kind of knowledge or additional piece of knowledge or education from this, I'm grateful because it matters. It's important. And I will never stop talking about it. And there are people that do a way better job of it than I do, that are advocates and have, are part of organizations that fight for these things. And there's new legislation being fought for all the time to include more information and to be more supportive of this community. But at the end of the day, I really think it's a lack of understanding. And so the more we can help other people understand, the better. That's it. That's all I got. Hopefully the next episode of this podcast will be a bit more uplifting. My goal is to not be a Debbie Downer, but I'm going to make sure you know what's up. Again, Rohit, if this ever makes its way to you, God bless you, fine sir. You are a light, an angel on earth, and I just pray that you feel the gratitude from our family and that you are blessed because of the blessing you have been. So thanks for listening, everyone. Bottoms up. Gonna drink my water. No coffee or wine in the middle of the day for me, but till we meet again.